Good morning, caregivers. This is Lisa with Hope Grows. I'm here today to walk you through a little bit of the gardens, but also provide, the therapeutic respite activity for the month of September based on the focus of spiritual warrior. So let's talk a little bit about that. A spiritual warrior is someone who looks at the negatives of the world, the fears, lies, false beliefs, and judgments, which are a source of pain and suffering on this planet, and they say, no, I'm not giving in to that, right? They say no to self-compromise, to unhappiness, and to allowing their freedom to be limited by negative energies. Spiritual warriors face an internal battle. That takes place in their heart and mind to ensure that they achieve their mission in life, to find their truth and unconditional love. But it's not an easy journey. So just know that that is actually not my definition of spiritual warrior. It is a site that I had found that talked extensively about the characteristics and traits of a spiritual warrior. But, for me, a spiritual warrior is, one, it's a seeker of truth, and I find I do that a lot. And it's also a place of where you're very self-aware of who you are. And there's a passion behind how you move through life. You follow an intuitive heart. It's that gut feel that we get with things, and we follow that gut feel to, move forward, with a message or a path in our lives. We live for love. We confront the shadows of our own self, and that's where that self-actualization piece comes into play. Partly too, there's this soulful mission behind, how we, move through our day and our life. And we also try to use our energy wisely, and we prioritize health and well-being, and we give without an expectation. I often think about my sister when my two sisters, actually three. No, I have three sisters, and they're all in that way. They're very giving of their time, their energy, and the support and love that they provide, not just myself, but Hope Grows. And, they are constantly just saying, what can I do next? How can I help? And they don't have an expectation of anything in return. And, I think those three are true spiritual warriors. I don't know. I think it's a really deep topic this month. It's hard to talk about a spiritual warrior. But nonetheless, we want to look at the negatives of life and replace them with positives. I think in a nutshell, that's basically what it is that we want you to do to live a path of a spiritual warrior. And how do we do that when caregiving seems to be so, daunting, and, the pressures of it all. And it's not easy. And I kind of revert back to that just 10 minutes piece that I do talk a lot about, out of 1,441 minutes in a day, I think is what it is, how hard 10 minutes is to come by. And I think we can do it, right? I think we can, as long as we make time for self. And making time for self is hard. I'm not saying that's easy. But if we look at it in increments of just minutes in a day, I think we can do that. So I'm going to take you through a path here and talk a little bit about our Japanese garden. It's called the Garden of Harmony and Peace, and it has so many different elements in this garden, and I just want to point them out. So it brings together the elements of fire, the earth, the wind, and the water. And I'm going to take you slowly over to where the water is. I'm sure you were hearing that trickling sound as we were talking and saw the water coming out. But here's another part of the feature of this garden. It's actually a rain curtain, and the water just flows. And it's a part of our life, right? It's the flowing part of who we are. It just seems to come down effortlessly, right? Just like rain does. And if we can live as a spiritual warrior and look at everything in a positive light, we can flow like the river, flow like that water. So let's talk a little bit more about some of the elements in this garden, and they can be used for self-care, right? And keeping us self-actualized to who we are, and help us with that positivity. I like to start here. So there are 3 stones in this garden. They're called sentinel stones, and I refer to them as the past, right over there, the present, and the future. And how you would use a sand garden such as this one is that rake that you're seeing. You would take that rake and you would start over here at the past and think about where have you been in your life. And then rake thoughts about the past, moving through your journey to the present. And then from there, where do you want to go into the future? What do you want to change? What do you want to focus more on? Okay, so that's one element of this garden that is, self-healing. It's a very eye-opening, emotional activity that you can be doing. I know they sell, little small sand, gardens in those small square little trays that you can buy, and they come with little rakes. I mean, you could do that on a smaller scale. The other piece of this garden is this walkway. It is a zigzag, as you can see. So in a traditional Japanese garden, which this is, negative energies cannot follow on a zigzag path. So this is put in here on purpose to break up the negative energy that could flow through this garden. So when we walk on this path, it's about taking that journey into positivity. So the negative energy isn't following us. We're actually walking, and while we're walking, it's breaking up that energy as well into positive. Okay? And then the fence, it's creating a boundary. It allows us to focus on the fact that sometimes in life we have to create those boundaries in life, but we don't want to put a thick wall there because we want to see beyond that boundary that we set to make sure that the boundary is working and that the boundary is solid, right? So that's the purpose of the open fence, is to create that boundary and that reminder that we also need to see beyond. All right, and then if we were to walk down the other way, this is the actual torii, traditional torii gate, is the entrance into the spiritual space. This garden is a very spiritual garden. It's got all the plant elements for a Japanese garden. It's got the climbing hydrangea. It's got the Japanese maples. It has the hinoki cypress. It has the lilac bushes over there. Other cypresses in here as well. And then right now, the beauty that we're seeing in this corner is beautyberry. And it is the neatest flower on a bush that I've ever seen. It's just beautiful. Okay. So I want to promise to keep you at this place of just 10 minutes with this activity, because that's what we're trying to do with our therapeutic respite activities this month, is to keep them at just 10 minutes, because we know your time is precious. We know that you need to, you got your list of things to do all day long. So that's one of the self-care techniques that we could incorporate. I also wanted to talk about another one called earthing. Okay, I'm going to shut the rain curtain off so you can hear me a little bit better. Okay, earthing is a grounding technique where you stand on the earth without shoes so that you can use its natural electric charges to stabilize yourself. Most shoes today have rubber soles, so the electrical charges cannot get through. Most likely part of the problem with sometimes how we just don't feel grounded in life. Earthing accelerates the immune response, as demonstrated by increases in gamma globulin concentration. These results indicate an association between earthing and the immune response, which can normalize muscle tension. Our bodies operate electrically. As an example, nerve impulses stimulate muscle fibers to contract. So what I tell people is, take your shoes off, go stand in the grass for 5-10 minutes, walk around. And if you're really stressed and you go to do that, it's amazing the result of how you feel afterwards. So yeah, that's just a little bit today of an activity and a discussion about spiritual warrior, and a few techniques for, helping with our stress daily, and also to connect with our spiritual side of becoming a spiritual warrior. So I'm going to end today with our gong that sits outside this garden. And I wish you the best week ever. Please let us know if there's anything that you might need. You as caregivers are spiritual warriors.